Naoya is a Rizzless bum who spends all year confessing to his crush until she finally agrees to date him. However, everything changes when two other baddies suddenly confess to him, and instead of being faithful, the degenerate decides to crack them all. But before this, Naoya is in class admiring his hot girlfriend Saki, and when he can no longer control the tornado in his pants, he suddenly hugs her to build plot. However, this embarrasses Saki as everyone stares at them, so she pushes him away and tells him to save the naughtiness for when they are alone. Later that day, on the school rooftop, Naoya is lost in thought, imagining his perfect life with Saki, when suddenly a gorgeous baddie walks in, catching his attention. She introduces herself as Nagisa Big Melons, and then shyly confesses her deep feelings for him. Naoya is shocked by the confession, and before he can say a word, she asks what he thinks of her curves, and he shyly admits that she is an hourglass 10/10. After she thanks him for the compliments, she reveals that for 3 months she worked hard, doing various exercises to make her cheeks firm and her peaches thick, just so she could ace this confession. She then asks him to try a taste of her wonderful cooking, which she spent 8 hours preparing. Naoya agrees, and when he takes a bite, he cries as it's the best meal he's had in his entire life. When Nagisa asks if she is worthy of being his girlfriend, he freezes, suddenly remembering that he already has a cute girlfriend. Noticing his hesitation, she feels bad, thinking she isn't thick enough for him, but Naoya tells her that isn't the case. He assures her that any sane simp will die just to stroke her fat fanny, and after struggling mentally, he finally confesses that he already has a girlfriend. For a brief moment, she feels bad to be rejected, but she quickly regains her morale and promises to confess again. Just as she is about to leave, Naoya quickly grabs her hand and tells her that even though he has vowed never to cheat in his life, her buns are just too sweet to resist. He then asks if he can make her his side chick, and Nagisa immediately jumps on the offer. Some hours later, Naoya meets up with Saki to tell her about Nagisa, the new assistant girlfriend. But the instant Saki sees how cute Nagisa is, she falls in love with her and insists they all hang out. With that, they all go for karaoke, but Nagisa destroys the sound system with her gorilla voice, so they are forced to leave. Then they try to play basketball, but Nagisa trips and shows everyone her watery pum-pum, which makes them realize she is terrible at almost everything. Later that night, while Saki enjoys Nagisa's excellent cooking, Naoya then finally tells her that he would like to date both of she and Nagisa. Confused by what she just heard, Saki asks him to repeat himself, so he explains that since he doesn't want to double date in secret, he needs her permission to date them publicly. Enraged by his words, Saki Mike Tysons his bloody face and tells him that there's no way she will agree to such madness. After recovering from the punch, he tries to convince her, but she stubbornly refuses, arguing that her lavender peaches should be enough for him. When Nagisa tries to intervene, Saki asks why she is even okay being a side chick. Nagisa says it's only because if she hadn't agreed to that condition, she would have been rejected. After much desperate pleading from Naoya, Saki reluctantly agrees to let him double time, so Naoya suggests they all live together in his crib to get to know each other better since his parents are missing. The girls agree, so hours later, when they arrive at his shack, Naoya immediately goes to prepare their rooms, while Nagisa cooks dinner. Since Saki is a Gen Z housewife, she lounges on the couch, eats dinner, and then sips Henny in the bathtub. Suddenly, Nagisa interrupts her bathing session and asks if they can bathe together, and Saki shyly agrees. While watching Nagisa scrub her body, Saki notices that her meat bags have more jiggles than hers, which makes her feel intimidated. But suddenly, Nagisa gets in Saki's face and tells her that she's okay with Saki getting freaky with Naoya that night since she is the main chick. Upon hearing this, Saki freaks out and explains that she and Naoya haven't started swiping V-cards yet. Shocked, Nagisa apologizes for being too forward, but Saki tells her it's fine and then explains that she and Naoya just started dating. Nagisa is clearly happy to hear that and suggests they both work hard together to get clapped, which makes Saki realize she's a freak. Immediately, Saki meets Naoya in the kitchen and demands to know if he plans on doing anything freaky with Nagisa. Caught off guard by the question, Naoya denies it, but when she pins him to the wall, he admits that he would like to. In fact, he suggests they have a three-way, but Saki is creeped out by his degenerate idea and strongly opposes it. To calm the situation, Naoya apologizes for being too edgy and assures them that he is more interested in building a good relationship than in checking out their beef curtains. However, as he walks away, Saki pulls his shirt and asks if he is really not interested in tasting her honeypot even if it's one time. Naoya replies that it would be cheating if he did it with just her, without involving Nagisa. Seeing the disappointed look on her face, Nawoya teases her for shamelessly wanting to get clapped so badly, which embarrasses Saki, so she denies it. Later that night, Saki is already fed up with sharing her man with another chick, and what pisses her off the most is that her rival is packing more meat than her. When she can't take it anymore, she tries to convince Nagisa to end the relationship, but she refuses, insisting that she wants to get bitten by Nawoya's king cobra. Shocked to hear this, Saki finally realizes there's no way she can ever match Nagisa's freakiness, and this frightens her as she can already imagine the busty freak taking her man away from her. A while later, Saki and Nagisa enter the living room to find out that Nawoya has already set up 3 futons close to each other for them to sleep on. Not understanding why, Saki immediately accuses him of trying to rub his wimwam on their cakes, but Nawoya swears on his biological scepter that it isn't his intention. Still, Saki is suspicious of him and is determined to be the ultimate cockblocker. So much later, as they lie on the futon, she pretends to be asleep and waits for him to make his move. Just then, Nagisa complains of being cold, so she asks Nawoya if she can come closer. He agrees, and as they spoon each other, Saki starts imagining Nawoya squeezing Nagisa's fat honkers, which makes her jealous. So she quickly pulls the bedsheet to catch them red-handed, but she is shocked to see them holding hands and praying. Embarrassed by her behavior, Saki lies on Nawoya's futon, claiming she is also cold while trying her best not to show how ashamed she is. To resolve the issue of the cold, Nawoya then suggests they all sleep together, and the girls agree. The following morning, while Nawoya and Saki are still fast asleep, Nagisa prepares breakfast for everyone, and while she's at it, she thinks about how happy she is living with Nawoya, her forever crush. However, she is worried that the happiness won't last long, as she believes that the instant Saki gets fed up with the 3-way relationship, Nawoya will also discard her like trash. To prevent this from happening, she decides to work her way from being the side chick to becoming the main chick. To do this, she sneakily takes both Saki and Nawoya's phones to check their browser history and gather as much dirt on them that she can use. She starts by unlocking Saki's phone with Saki's thumb, while the sleepyhead is still living large in slumberland. Then she goes straight to her browser history, but to her shock, she discovers that Saki is one naughty gooner obsessed with getting laid. After that, she moves into her ex account, where she sees angry feminist tweets Saki made calling all men red flags. As she scrolls through, she also stumbles on a tweet Saki made about her, calling her cute and admitting that she hates sharing her guy with such a cutie. This warms Nagisa's heart, but while she is lost in the moment, Nawoya catches her red-handed with Saki's phone. When he asks what she is doing with the phone, she truthfully admits she was going through it to look at history and stuff. Before Nawoya can say a word, Saki suddenly wakes and sees Nagisa holding her phone. Knowing this might lead to a fight between the girls, Nawoya immediately lies that he was the one prying into her browser history, and this earns him a sweet nasty punch to his puffy face. Right after that, Saki angrily goes back to bed, while Nagisa apologizes to Nawoya for putting him through such pain. But Nawoya tells her it's fine and that he understands she was just worried about everything happening. Later that morning, while having breakfast, Saki asks Nagisa what class she is in, and Nagisa shyly says she is in the same class as them. Nawoya and Saki are confused to hear this, since they've never seen her in class, so Nagisa explains that she's a truant who's been away from school because she's been studying how to cook for Nawoya. Shocked by this, Nawoya scolds her for being a creepy nutcase, but Nagisa explains that she did it because she wanted to confess to him as soon as possible. Still, he warns her to stop making stupid sacrifices for him, and seeing how disappointed he is with her, Nagisa tries to bribe him with snacks, but Nawoya refuses to be bribed. Instead, he declares that they will spend the whole day studying so Nagisa can catch up. Desperate to impress Nawoya, Nagisa agrees and is determined to give it her all. However, when she sees the rocket science equations, she freezes and runs to the toilet to avoid embarrassing herself. While inside the toilet, she breaks down, realizing that with her pea-sized brain, Nawoya might probably lose faith in her. She then tries to use ChatGPT to solve the equations, but she gives up when she realizes that the AI is even more stupid than she is. Just then, Nawoya and Saki come banging at the door, asking if she is feeling sick since she's been in there for hours. Not knowing what to do, Nagisa quickly claims she is feeling itchy down there, so Nawoya apologizes for bothering her private time. After regaining her confidence, Nagisa finally cracks the equation, but after solving it, Nawoya tells her she failed miserably. Hearing this, Nagisa crashes out, but Nawoya grabs her by the shoulder and promises to teach her till her brain gets the intelligence update. The next morning, They all prepare to leave for school, but Saki warns both Naoya and Nagisa never to reveal their awkward relationship to anyone. Naoya protests that he can't just neglect Nagisa after she missed school for so long, but Saki knocks his head, insisting that revealing their relationship will nerf her reputation. Later that day in class, Nagisa is all alone, and the entire class is staring at her like she's a fallen star. When Naoya and Saki notice this, they feel bad for her, but even at that, Saki is still headstrong about anyone finding out that they all know each other. Meanwhile, Naoya is furious at the situation, and when he can't hold himself any longer, he walks up to meet Nagisa and introduces himself. Nagisa also introduces herself with a smile, and seeing how innocent she looks, Naoya refuses to keep up with the lie. However, as he tries to reveal the truth about them dating, Saki quickly stretches his chin with her fist to shut him up. Still, he refuses to be stopped, and as he tries again, this time, Saki not only chops his throat, she slaps his stupid face countless times, and then finally Brock Lesnar's him to knock him out cold. Much later at the rooftop, Saki scolds Naoya for trying to snitch on her, but he says he's had enough and cannot continue watching Nagisa look sad. While they argue, Nagisa suddenly shows up and calms the situation by assuring them that she is just fine being alone. She then gives them the lunch she made for them, and seeing how kind Nagisa is to them, even though she has been treated badly, makes Naoya and Saki cry. Feeling like a jerk, Saki then apologizes to Nagisa for being so selfish, and after they hug things out, she agrees to hang out together in secret at school. With that, they go to the rooftop to eat lunch away from public eyes, where Nagisa thanks Saki for making the effort to hang out with her. Touched by her modesty, Naoya loudly compliments Nagisa, but Saki smacks him on the head, warning him to keep his voice down. However, the commotion has already attracted the attention of a teacher, so they skedaddle before getting caught. When they get to a secluded spot, Nagisa announces that she knows a secret place where they can eat lunch without being seen. She then takes them inside the stinking toilet and asks them to feel at home, but Saki refuses to stay in such a disgusting place. Nagisa then takes them behind the stinky toilet, saying this is much better, but Saki almost pukes out her intestines because of the horrible stench. When Naoya asks if she can take them somewhere that doesn't stink like your dad's dirty drawers, Nagisa agrees and then takes them to a cleaner toilet this time. However, Saki insists she doesn't want to eat lunch inside an infested dump, so Naoya suggests they eat inside the gym storage room instead. Saki then agrees, since it's better off than inside a toilet, so they all dash there. Upon getting to the storage room, they discover that the place is locked, so Naoya unleashes his inner gangsta and tries to break the lock with his fist. But the weak fool shatters his knuckles, and just then Saki announces that the window is open. As Naoya tries to get Nagisa inside through the window, he accidentally peeks at her fries, so Saki puts her fingers in his eyes for being too thirsty. When they finally make it inside the storage room, they barricade themselves to prevent anyone from seeing them. Before they start stuffing their faces, Naoya then thanks the girls for agreeing to date a small pickle loser like him. He also thanks them for putting up with his selfishness to date both of them, and while Saki is pissed to hear this, Nagisa laughs and says she is pleased to see them eating together. The next day, they also have lunch together, and throughout that week, Nagisa continues to prepare exotic dishes for them, making Gordon Ramsay mad jealous. When Saki compliments her cooking, Nagisa shyly says she is doing all this just to make her daddy happy. She then asks Naoya if he wants her to do anything else, but Naoya replies that she has already done enough. Still, Nagisa insists on doing anything he wants, even offering her holes. Noticing how jealous this makes Saki, Naoya quickly apologizes and reassures her that she will always be his #1 chick. Still, Saki feels she hasn't been doing enough for Naoya compared to Nagisa, and this makes her feel she might lose him if she doesn't step up her game. Desperate not to lose her man, Saki jumps out of the storage room and runs off to find a solution. Throughout that day, she roams the street like a homeless hippie, thinking of the perfect idea that will make Naoya happy. When her saltwater brain couldn't think of anything meaningful, she returns home to ask Naoya if he wants her to do anything for him. But somehow, Naoya misreads the question as her saying she wants him to do something nice for her, so he buys her a cake. After happily wolfing down the cake, Saki suddenly remembers her mission and crashes out. Later that day at the supermarket, she then decides to buy foodstuffs so she can prove she can cook as well as Nagisa. But then she spots a shiny gummy, which catches her interest. When she gets home, the hopeless foodie realizes that instead of groceries, she bought shiny gummies. So, with no other choice, she decides to make curry using the ingredients already in the house. After chopping the ingredients, she starts cooking and then decides to watch YouTube while it boils. However, 3 hours later, she suddenly notices a burning smell and realizes it's the curry stew. When she opens the pot, she sees that it's burned to a crisp, and this makes her feel like a useless waste of womanhood. That night, she sinks into depression as she now believes she is more worthless than a wet tissue paper, and that it's only a matter of time before Nagisa takes her place. Desperate not to give up hope, she decides to use her final trump card. So later that night, she crawls up to Naoya's bed while he is asleep and asks him to quickly expand her domain. Naoya protests, saying they need to keep it safe for YouTube, but Saki places his hand on her fun bag and asks him to steer like a F1 driver. To her shock, she realizes Naoya isn't freaking out at the touch of her melons, and this makes her believe it's because she doesn't have jumbo melons like Nagisa. Feeling jealous, Saki runs out of the house in anger and then leaves behind a note saying she is going home. Later, when Nagisa hears that Saki has angrily returned home, she secretly gets excited and starts imagining her new life with Naoya alone in the house. Seeing this as her perfect chance to finally get some action, Nagisa asks to sing an opera using his microphone, but Naoya refuses, insisting that he must make up with Saki. To do that, he vows he will not sleep or eat and will stay up all night writing love letters. The next day, Naoya and Nagisa show up in front of Saki's window with a pile of Shakespearean love letters Naoya wrote for her. As he tosses them to Saki, asking her to read, Saki sends them back right away and tells him to give them to his mama. Undeterred by this, Naoya shows her a couple of gacha pulls for her favorite game he bought with his parents' pension money, hoping it will make her change her mind. But Saki shuts the window, saying she isn't interested. For 3 days straight, Naoya does everything Saki likes so she can return to the house, but Saki shuts down every one of his attempts. Seeing how emotionally and physically drained Naoya is, Nagisa begs him to take a break from being a simp. She then promises to give him multiple backshots for the rest of his life if he just lets Saki go, but the moron declines her offer, saying he will never give up on either of them. Hearing those words triggers a flashback, making Nagisa recall when she and Naoya were in junior school. This makes her tear up as she realizes that Naoya's stubborn determination to never give up was the very reason she fell in love with him in the first place. She then agrees to help him win Saki back, so once they get in front of Saki's window, she uses his hand to squeeze her onions. Seeing this activates Saki's jealous gene, so she jumps out of the window, ready to stop Nagisa from violating her man. However, luring Saki out has always been the plan, so Nagisa leaves them to talk things out. Naoya then asks Saki why she left the house, and she explains that it's because she feels Nagisa is way better than her. She lashes out that Nagisa can cook better than she can, and that the plot gods also blessed her with melons 10 times the size of her own. Right after saying this, Saki turns to leave, asking Naoya to have a nice life with Miss Belonga melons, but Naoya grabs her hand to stop her from leaving. He tells her that he is happy just being with her, but she counters that she wants to be of use to him too. Still, Naoya insists that she is good enough just the way she is, and this annoys Saki, so as usual she makes him smell her knuckles. With Naoya lying unconscious on the floor, Saki laments that all she wants is to do something for the idiot, but he just won't let her. She explains that every time she has tried to be useful, Naoya has always told her to just remain useless while he takes care of everything. After Naoya regains consciousness, he explains that even though there are a lot of things he wants her to do, he feels he should do them since he is responsible for having started the relationship. Just then, Nagisa interrupts to support Saki. She explains that there is so much she would also like to do for Naoya, but he always tells her not to overwork herself. Together, both girls ask Naoya to let them take on more responsibility, and seeing the seriousness on their faces, Naoya agrees and then apologizes for not using them as his filthy minions. He then promises that from then henceforth he will engage them in more activities, and for starters he asks Saki to return to the house, and she shyly agrees like a good girl. Later that night, Nagisa prepares a 5-star dish to celebrate Saki's return to the crib, while Naoya dozes off in the room since he has been awake for 3 whole nights. After dinner, the girls decide to bond over a zombie shooting game, but since Nagisa is a noob, she keeps flatlining, so Saki decides to teach her. Doing this excites Saki, as this is the first time she has ever bested Nagisa in anything. After gaming, Nagisa suggests they watch entertaining gameplay videos so they can practice playing, and Saki buys the idea. She then shows Saki a video thumbnail of an online game streamer with insane floaties, but Saki angrily tells her that the blondie is one of those bad streamers. Just then, Naoya joins them, and when he stares at the thumbnail, He notices their school uniform in the background, which means the busty blondie is probably a student of their school. The next day after class, Nawoya and the girls eat lunch in the gym storage room as usual. While eating, Saki suggests they play a game when they get home, and Nagisa agrees, telling her that she has even been studying videos in preparation. However, as she tries to click on the video of the busty blondie, she realizes that the thumbnail has changed and the school uniform is no longer in the picture. This makes them suspect that the blonde streamer might actually be a student who doesn't want anyone to know that she is. Suddenly, a blonde girl tries to sneak inside the storage room through the window like a useless thief, but Nawoya and the girls catch her red-handed. Seeing Nawoya with two pretty baddies, the girl suspects they must be doing something freaky, but Nawoya and the girls quickly deny it. Still, the girl does not believe them and is more than certain that they must be gang smashing. Unable to deny it anymore, Saki then begs her not to tell anyone, but the girl laughs and starts to tease them for being creeps. To shut her up, Nawoya gives her his entire life savings and tells her to scram, but the girl rejects it, saying she is loaded enough to afford 2 Cybertrucks if she wants to. Nawoya is shocked to hear that a student can afford a Cybertruck, so he grabs her juicy drumstick and advises her to stop trading backshots for money. He then warns that if she continues dating sugar daddies, she might one day become as famous as Bonnie Blue, but the girl doesn't mind. As Nawoya continues trying to talk some sense into her, Nagisa interrupts to ask if the girl is Mirika, the streamer. Nawoya and Saki are both shocked to hear this, but Nagisa explains that the girl and Mirika both have the same eyes and similar S-class honkers. Realizing her cover is blown, Mirika starts to panic and tries to deny it, but Nagisa shows her a picture of the old thumbnail and then points out the school uniform. Shocked to see it, Mirika accidentally blurts out that she had deleted the thumbnail right after she uploaded it, but immediately regrets saying it. However, since everyone already heard it, Saki threatens to reveal her spicy secret to the entire school if she dares to tell anyone about her threesome relationship. After fuming with anger, Mirika finally agrees not to tell anyone, but Nawoya suddenly makes a promise to take her secret to the great beyond, even if she snitches on them. Touched by his level of kindness, Mirika calls him a good guy and then shockingly declares that she also wants to be his girlfriend. Upon hearing this, Nawoya and the girls freeze and are too speechless to say a word. After recovering from the shock, Saki asks why she wants to be Nawoya's girlfriend, and Mirika proudly explains that she feels it's the right time for her to start cuffing. She then flaunts her assets to Nawoya and asks if he is ready to become her daddy. Even though Nawoya would give anything to clap that, he rejects her, explaining that his fat Joe is already working overtime. Unable to believe that she has been rejected by a two-timing loser, Mirika starts to throw tantrums like a spoiled brat, but Nawoya tells her that he can't just date any cute thing in a skirt. He says his only goal in life right now is to make his two girlfriends happy, and hearing those words melts Saki and Nagisa's hearts. Mirika calls him a loser for rejecting her free snack, but when she realizes that his mind is already made up, she takes off her jacket and shows him the milk factory he will be missing. She then promises Nawoya that if he makes her one of his harem, she will let him motorboat her G-cups whenever and however he likes. Fed up with her nonsense, Nawoya and his girls start jumping out the window to leave. However, when it's Nawoya's turn, Mirika, in retaliation for being rejected, angrily pushes him, causing him to slam his face on the ground. After learning that they all live together, Mirika angrily vows to move in with them and do everything possible to make Nawoya fall in love with her, before running off. Later that day, as Nawoya and the girls arrive home, they are shocked to see a tent in the backyard. Inside the tent is Mirika, who says if she can't live under the same roof with them, she is fine living in the yard. When Nagisa asks how she got to find out where they live, Miss Jo Goldberg reveals that she trailed them like an obsessed creep on their way back from school. Mirika then vows that she will camp outside the yard until Nawoya adds her to his harem, but Nagisa thinks she is capping and believes in no time the Delulu girl will eventually return to the cave she crawled out from. However, Mirika assures her that she won't. Later that night, the freezing cold outside nearly turns Mirika into a popsicle, so Nawoya advises her to just go back home. Still, Mirika stubbornly refuses and instead sees his advice as a challenge. She then orders an expensive sleeping bag from Temu to enable her bear the harsh weather conditions. Not only that, she also stocks up on all the supplies that she needs. To ensure she doesn't go broke, she starts live streaming out in the cold with her show-stopping honkers on full display to her Gooner fans. When the cold becomes unbearable, she starts working out to build up heat, and while she does this, she streams it live for everyone to watch. In her head, the mental case imagines Nawoya and the girls mocking her, and this only hardens her resolve to keep up the madness. The next morning, Mirika ends her live stream, and all the packages she ordered get delivered to her. This excites her, and she brags to Nawoya about how money rules the world, but Nawoya tells her that she stinks like a dead skunk and needs to go shower. Embarrassed by this, Mirika orders some basic survival stuff, and when they arrive, she pours water inside a bag. After leaving the water to warm up in the sun for hours, she hangs it above her, punches a hole in the bag, and then creates a do-it-yourself shower. After cleaning up nicely, she asks Nawoya what he thinks about her survival instincts, and Nawoya is impressed with everything he has seen so far. That night, Saki and Nagisa realize Mirika isn't here to play and is determined to take their man away from them, so they devise a plan to stop her. So while Nawoya enjoys a peaceful bath in the tub, Nagisa and Saki suddenly show up in their swimsuits and ask to join him. Nawoya freaks out, and when he asks what's going on, Saki explains that their intention is to satisfy his little Johnny so Mirika can stop messing with his head with her massive udders. Saki then starts teasing Nawoya for staring at them like a creep, and when Nagisa tries to stop her, she trips and slaps Nawoya's face with her opai buffet. Not to be outshined, Saki also tries to slap Nawoya's face with her tiny oranges, but she sadly realizes she didn't get the latest Bustful Update 2.0. In the process, her melon cover comes off, but she quickly catches it and then gets shy that Nawoya saw her flat insecurity. However, Nawoya scolds the girls for trying to tempt him at a moment like this when they have an asylum patient in their backyard who has refused to go. Nagisa admits he is right, but then she tells him that to get rid of Mirika, he needs to stare a lot at their jiggle machines so he doesn't get an itch in his pants anytime Mirika tries to tempt him. Reminiscing on how far they've come as a couple, Nawoya reassures her that he won't take his eyes off the plots, so he quickly takes a mental pic of it to save in the goon-loving part of his degenerate brain. Shortly afterwards, while Mirika is having the time of her life grilling fresh meats outside the yard, Nawoya and the girls notice how comfortable she has become and are desperate to send her packing. Nawoya then approaches her, and when he asks her to leave, Mirika yells that she isn't leaving until he falls in love with her. Nawoya replies that he would rather date a dead goat than date her, and when he tries to forcefully make her leave, the crackhead threatens to throw a red-hot coal down his pants. Seeing that she has completely lost any sense of reasoning, Nawoya and the girls get scared and decide to retreat for now. Inside the house, Nawoya assures Nagisa and Saki that he will definitely send the mad woman packing, but Nagisa advises him not to use force again. She suggests that they slowly convince her, and Saki supports her. Just then, they notice the look of discomfort on Mirika's face while she leaves her tent, and this makes them believe she wants to use the restroom. Since the nearest restroom is at the convenience store, Nawoya quickly makes a call to a truck company to come pick up all of Mirika's unwanted stuff in his backyard. But Saki snatches his phone and warns him not to act too aggressively towards Mirika. Nagisa also joins, asking him to chill, but Nawoya gets pissed that the girls don't even worry that the longer Mirika stays, the easier it might be for him to start simping for her. He tells them that they need to be worried that he might change his mind anytime and fall in love with Mirika. Nagisa admits he is right, but when Nawoya tries to take his phone from Saki, she stops him with her legs and then asks how serious he is about them. When Nawoya assures her that he is dead serious, Saki tells him that she has confidence in him to keep his anaconda under control. Despite being touched that she believes in him, Nawoya tells her that he doesn't have the same confidence in his junk. His lack of confidence pisses Saki off, so she wrestles him to the floor and arm locks him until he believes in himself. As he cries in pain, Nawoya assures her that he is confident now and then promises that even though he is a weak-willed loser, he won't forget his responsibilities to them. Although he warns that if Mirika continues to stay, he might one day fall in love with her, and this gets him a hard chop to the head by Saki. However, now seeing that Nawoya is nothing but a simp with no restraint, Saki gives him back his phone and then agrees to drive Mirika out. After calling the truck company for the pickup, Nawoya suggests he distracts Mirika from coming to the house so they can load the truck up with her things. The girls agree, so while walking down the street, Nawoya finds Mirika heading back to the house, so he blocks her and tries to distract her with conversation. However, Mirika already suspects he is hiding something, so she tells him to look at Kim Kardashian behind him, and once the fool does, she kicks his knee and runs off. When she gets to the house, she catches Saki and Nagisa already loading all her gear into the truck, so she tries to stop them. Just then, Nawoya also arrives, so he grabs Mirika by her plots to hold her down from interrupting the loading process. Mirika tries to free herself by knocking his head multiple times, and when she realizes that he has a coconut for a head, she shouts that the creep is getting handsy with her. Watching as the passers-by stare at Nawoya like his name is on the Epstein files, Mirika smirks, knowing her plan is working, and then tells him to let go before he becomes Diddy's cellmate. Even at that, Nawoya refuses to let go as her melons are just too soft. He then tells Saki and Nagisa to hurry up with the loading, and as a last resort, Mirika crushes his foot with her legs. Nawoya is then forced to let her go, but he then grabs her leg, and as she falls, he sees her colored G-string and loves it. He then promises to pay for all the stuff she bought if that's the price to send her packing, but Mirika tells him that he is too broke to pay her 1,000,000 yen. Nawoya admits he is broke but promises to work as an online male stripper even if he has to pay her back. After loading up the truck leaves, and Mirika is more than mad to lose all her gear. She then asks why he would go to such lengths to send her packing since he is a cheat anyway, but Nawoya tells her that he is a cheat with class. He then grabs her by the shoulder and explains that he would do anything to make his two mamas happy. However, instead of this statement making Mirika leave, it only makes her fall in love with him. After writing a promissory note to pay her every cent she spent on her stupid gear, Nawoya and the girls kindly ask Mirika to leave, but the desperate blonde rips the note to shreds, wraps her hand around Nawoya, and insists she isn't going anywhere. Just then, some random dude shows up, and everyone is shocked to learn that it's Mirika's dad. He says he has been searching everywhere for her, and insists she go home with him immediately, but she refuses, saying she has found herself a better daddy. After introducing himself as the king of babes, Nawoya tells the man to take his daddy issues daughter home, but Mirika swears she ain't going nowhere. Meanwhile, Saki and Nagisa get the feeling that Mirika must have fallen in love with Nawoya, so they tell Nawoya to do everything possible to send the man-snatcher home. Nawoya agrees, so he turns to Mirika's dad and says he has no intention of ever dating his daughter. But the man sees it as an insult that Nawoya is trying to say his daughter isn't good enough for his golden plow. This makes him angry, so he calls his daughter a cheap hoe for disgracing the family name, but Nawoya defends Mirika, saying she is smart, hardworking, and a famous celebrity. His compliments rizzes her up, while Saki and Nagisa are losing their minds, wondering what the heck the moron is doing. When the father checks YouTube, he sees Mirika's steamy videos where she is advertising her cannonballs, and this blows his fuse. He lashes out at Mirika, but Nawoya defends her again, asking the dad to look at her busting creativity and the entertainment she gives to gooners all over the world instead of criticizing. Still, the father refuses to see his cultured reasoning, so he grabs Mirika and starts dragging her home. However, this pushes Mirika to the extreme, so she uppercuts her old man and warns him to let her live her life however she wishes. After the father regains himself, he snatches Mirika's phone from her and threatens to delete her OnlyFans account. She begs him to stop, but the dad refuses, and just as he is about to press delete, Nawoya snatches the phone from him and tells him to let his daughter be. Seeing how much Nawoya is defending her gives Mirika a tingle in her clam and deepens her love for him. So for the time being, she agrees to return home with her father, but she promises to see Nawoya pretty soon. Later that night, Saki and Nagisa are both bothered about Mirika falling in love with Nawoya, and what worries them the most is that the simp might agree to date her if she confesses. Shortly afterward, Saki goes to her place to pick up some clothes, and when she enters the house, she sees her mom, who asks how things are going between her and Nawoya. Saki nervously admits that things are pretty fine, but when her mom asks if they've started plugging holes, she gets embarrassed and freaks out. Seeing her reaction, the mom is shocked that she is still a virgin even after having a boyfriend, and this makes her conclude that Nawoya's baby maker must be for fancy. She finds it hard to believe that with how cute her daughter is, Nawoya is still able to control his pickle. Saki realizes that her mom might be right, because every time she has tried to chew Nawoya's gumball, the low-drive idiot has always evaded anything freaky from happening. She goes crazy, realizing that if she doesn't do something about it, she might grow old with a rusty peach. So to solve this problem, her mom advises her to show Nawoya how cute she is so she can resurrect his dead kitty destroyer. So hours later, Saki returns to Nawoya's crib, putting on a hot Catwoman outfit. Seeing her, Nawoya goes crazy, and when he asks why she wants to tempt him, Saki, in turn, asks if his pickle is excited to see her that way. When Nawoya answers that he is more flustered than excited, Saki breaks down and blames her magnum-deprived mom for giving her such silly advice. She then shyly asks him if he finds her cute, and Nawoya admits that she is cuter than Barbie. His response motivates her to go further with her seduction, so she asks him to clean her rims, but he bluntly refuses. Pissed off, Saki accuses him of being impotent, but Naoya denies it and explains that they both made a promise never to unplot each other. Saki admits they made the promise, but she pins him to the floor and says she wants a bad boy who breaks promises. She then urges him to go ahead and crack her, but he freaks out, and when he notices her cat outfit coming off, he helps her secure it. However, this embarrasses Saki, so she punches him and then scolds him for not showing restraint even in the midst of temptation. She then runs to the room, leaving him questioning what really is a green flag for women. The next morning, while having breakfast, Nagisa notices Saki glowing, and this makes her curious. So while washing the dishes, she asks Saki for the secret of her Snapchat filter glow, but Saki just walks away, claiming it's because of a new skincare routine. However, while doing the laundry, Nagisa finds her cat outfit in the laundry basket, and this makes her wonder if something freaky happened last night when she was fast asleep. To confirm this, she confronts Naoya about the cat outfit, and he doesn't deny that Saki really tried to tempt him with the outfit, but then he truthfully admits that he liked how cute she looked in it. Shocked to hear this, she asks if he likes naughty cosplay, and he admits that he does. Hearing that, Nagisa leaves, and in the next second she returns, cosplaying a hot maid. Naoya explodes his pants when he sees her looking so cute, and after he compliments her, Nagisa makes him feel good, just like a maid would her master. She then calls him master and asks if he wants anything from her, so he grabs her by the shoulder and tells her that he wants her to be his thought maid once every week. This makes her blush beet red, and she begs him to pat her head. Caught off guard by her request, he gently pats her head while controlling the rush of blood to his baby sausage, and this makes Nagisa light up. Early the next morning at school, Mirika waits for Naoya in front of his class, but her hot legs and gigantic front meat make all the simp boys staring at her cream their pants. She remembers how Naoya had saved her from her dad earlier, and just glancing at him makes her go crazy, leading her to question whether she has fallen in love with him. Just then, Saki and her girls catch Mirika in front of Naoya's class and demand to know what the heck she is doing there. Mirika replies that she wants to talk to Naoya, but Saki accuses her of having a crush on her man, which Mirika immediately denies. However, the instant Naoya interrupts the conversation, Mirika starts blushing like a fool smitten by love, which confirms Saki's accusation. Mirika then tells Naoya that she wants to have a private talk, but Saki objects and asks her to leave her man alone. Before the girls start throwing hands, Naoya calms the situation by asking Saki to calm her nerves, and then agrees to have a private talk with Mirika. As they both head to the rooftop, all the jealous boys start talking smack about Naoya being the only guy getting some action in school. When they get to the rooftop, Naoya first of all apologizes for turning her down and hurting her ego. So to compensate for that, he strips and asks her to play with his jingle balls as much as she wants. However, seeing his massive pack makes Mirika moist down there. As Naoya continues to apologize and compliment how hot she is, Mirika turns red from blushing too much, and the love pressure in her airbags knocks her to the floor. After she recovers, she thanks Naoya for saving not just her but also her social media account from getting deleted by her deadbeat clown of a father. She then explains that years back her father used to insult her that she would end up being a good-for-nothing roadside jizz bucket if she didn't study. So, to avoid her father's constant reminders that she was a failure, she became a shut-in, and that's when she started streaming to gain financial freedom. Now that her channel is gaining traction, she explains that the only reason she shows her mega milkers online is for clickbait. She also explains that her channel is very important to her because of the hard work she has put in, and because Naoya protected it even when he didn't have to. She is grateful to him for life. After she is done expressing herself, she runs off in embarrassment, and on the staircase, she finally admits to herself that she is in love with Naoya. Meanwhile, Saki watches her crash out because of Naoya's love, and this fuels her anger. The next day in class, Mirika tries to have a conversation with Naoya, but Saki angrily tells her to beat it. While this is happening, everyone is stunned to see two hot baddies fighting over Naoya. Some dude then approaches Naoya to ask how he managed to rizz up such cuties, but Naoya tells him he is too ugly and advises him to stick with his mom. Just then, Mirika decides to play her trump card, so she grabs Naoya by the hand and tells everyone he is her boyfriend. As she starts slapping her puffy bags against his chest, Saki couldn't contain her rage anymore, so she grabs Mirika's yum-yums and squeezes hard like an orange. With a death stare, she warns Mirika to stay the heck away from her man, but Mirika tells her to stop monopolizing Naoya's sausage. Mirika also reminds her that Naoya isn't only her man, but a community hose that serves every well, and this strikes a nerve. To secure what is hers, Saki warns Naoya never to leave her side, and this scares him, as he wonders whether Saki is feeling lonely because she is worried he is about to score a hat trick. So he grabs her and promises to remain faithful until the end of time, but this embarrasses Mirika, so she runs off, swearing to return stronger. Throughout that day in class, Naoya holds Saki like a teddy bear and will not let her go. Even when Saki shyly asks him to let go, he refuses, saying he understands loneliness because he has always been a loner his whole life. When his eraser drops, Naoya tries to pick it up, but his hand accidentally brushes Saki's apples, causing her to holler like a siren. But she gets hit with maximum embarrassment when she realizes that they are still in class and everyone is watching. During PE time, Saki asks Naoya to let her go, but when he insists they change together, she tells him it's way too freaky. Just then, Mirika proudly walks into the class and asks to borrow Naoya, but Saki angrily drags him out, and together they run to the changing room. As they enter the changing room, Saki locks the door to keep Mirika out. She then asks Naoya to close his cultured eyes while she dresses, and at the same time, Mirika gets a notification on her phone that makes her retreat. While taking off her clothes, Saki thinks about how hot Mirika is, and the thought of her snatching Naoya away from her drives her crazy. Feeling quite uncomfortable, Naoya says he is going to wait outside while she undresses, but Saki stops him and asks him to stay. This confuses him, so they both stare at each other like dummies until Naoya gets a glimpse of her silky undies, causing Saki to twitch in shame. Suddenly, Saki gets a notification from Nagisa, who says she threatened Mirika with exposing her identity unless Mirika comes to the rooftop, and that she did this just to get Mirika away from them. Meanwhile, Mirika gets to the rooftop, and when she sees no one there, she is pissed, realizing she had been scammed. Later that day at home, Saki complains to Nagisa about Naoya hugging her throughout the class. She claims to be disgusted by it, but Nagisa admits that she would love to be embraced like that by someone she loves. Saki accuses her of just looking for a chance to hoe herself, but Nagisa denies it, saying she just isn't embarrassed by things like that. Just then, Naoya walks in, asking what the commotion is about, so Saki angrily tells him that Nagisa wants to feel his daddy's leg but is lying that she wants to be embraced. Hearing this, Naoya offers to give her a hug, but Nagisa refuses, not wanting to offend Saki. But Saki claims she doesn't mind, even though deep down, jealousy is playing soccer with her heart. She then leaves the room to give them some privacy, but Naoya stops her and begs her to watch him as he embraces Nagisa. He explains that he doesn't want her to think they did more than just embrace, and Saki reluctantly agrees to watch by the door. As Naoya hugs Nagisa, he doesn't feel the softness of her plots against his chest, so he hugs her again for a better experience. He then asks how she feels, and Nagisa tells him that despite being embarrassed, she is actually thrilled by his hug. Meanwhile, Saki, watching them, almost turns into a vampire from jealousy seeing her man enjoy another girl's softness. When she tries to look away, her eyes refuse, so she keeps herself glued to watching them. When the pressure of the sensation overwhelms Nagisa, her knees give out, so Naoya gets too close for comfort to check if she is fine. Seeing this, Saki loses her mind, thinking something freaky is about to go down, so she walks up to them and punches Naoya for giving her high blood pressure. The next day after school, Mirika walks Naoya and Saki home, and on the way she tries all the tactics she knows to always get close to Naoya. Even when they finally get home, she tries to follow them inside, but Saki blocks her like a bouncer and then locks the door on her, leaving Mirika frustrated. Inside the house, Naoya is bothered by the recent attention he is getting from Mirika, so he asks Nagisa and Saki if they feel Mirika is crushing on him. Hearing this, the girls are shocked that the clueless idiot doesn't know Mirika is going nuts for him, and before Nagisa can say a word, Saki drags her away for a private conversation. Secretly, Saki tells Nagisa that if Naoya gets to find out about Mirika's feelings, it will increase the chance of him three-timing them, so she advises that they fool him. When they return, Saki decides to crush Naoya's confidence, so she tells him not to think he is some Riz lord and that every girl must have a crush on him. She then pushes him to the floor and also tells him he is just a talentless, basic-looking dude and he shouldn't get a big head just because two hot baddies like them agreed to date him. Without a doubt, the dumb moron believes he isn't worth any girl's speck. He then asks why Mirika always blushes whenever she is around him, so Saki fools him again, saying it's because Mirika is a hoe on heat. She tells him that he shouldn't think he is special to Mirika, but Mirika is just controlled by her lust and will let even a chimpanzee hit. After hearing all this, Naoya is totally convinced that Mirika is the worst, but then he remembers that Saki and Nagisa also blush too. When he asks if they are also on heat, Saki lies that the amount of heat depends on the size of a girl's dumplings. Since Nagisa has dumplings the size of your head, Saki asks if her heat level is high, and before Nagisa can say a word, Naoya assures her that he can help her handle the heat so she doesn't have to do it alone. The next day in class, Mirika tries to flirt with Naoya as usual, but since Naoya has been brainwashed by Saki, he publicly apologizes to her for ever thinking she had a crush on him. Embarrassed by this, Mirika turns red, grabs his hand, and drags him out of the class. She then takes him to the rooftop, but Saki follows them there while Nagisa hides behind the door. Mirika is having a hard time figuring out how Naoya found out she is crushing hard on him. When she asks why he would ever think that, Naoya explains that it's because her face is always red whenever she is around him, and that's why he got the impression that she might like him. He then reveals what Saki told him, that a girl's face burning like hot Cheetos means she's in heat. And Mirika angrily calls him a dummy for believing such nonsense. Saki tries to defend the rubbish she told Naoya, but Mirika yells at her to cut it out and then denies being on heat. When Naoya then asks why her face is always red, Mirika goes silent, unable to say a word, which prompts Naoya to ask if she actually likes him. Before Mirika can respond, Naoya tells her that there's no way she can like a two-timing douchebag like him. He adds that she has to be pretty messed up in the head to fall for a guy with 2 girlfriends, so Mirika denies it, claiming that the reason her face is red is because she has a cold. Even though Naoya doesn't buy that excuse, he acts as if he believes her and then offers to help her find a boyfriend who will wipe clean her dirty pipes as compensation for her tent. But Mirika sees it as an insult and smacks his worthless face. She then asks what he would have done if she had happened to like him, and Naoya tells her that he would have rejected her because he is already occupied with 2 fat baddies. He adds that doing anything with any other chick is out of the question for him right now, so he would have forced her to give up. Heartbroken by his words, Mirika ends the conversation and then asks everyone to leave the rooftop. Now alone, she realizes Naoya is pretty much determined not to make her a part of his harem. However, she refuses to give up, seeing this as similar to when her YouTube channel wasn't getting any views, but she didn't quit, and now it's racking up views. Meanwhile, back in class, Naoya and the girls believe Mirika is crushed, so this must be the end of her. But to their shock, the menace suddenly bursts in and publicly declares her love for Naoya. Naoya is shocked by this and asks her to repeat herself, so Mirika nervously repeats it and then drags him out of the class again. As usual, Saki and Nagisa immediately follow after the boyfriend kidnapper. This time, Mirika takes everyone into the gym storage room, where Saki angrily demands to know whether her brain is still intact. Mirika says yes, then explains that she is the kind of baddie who isn't ashamed to embarrass herself to get what she wants. However, she makes it clear that her intention is not to force Naoya to date her, but to keep hitting on him until he ultimately falls for her. Confused, Naoya asks why she would ever want a two-timing cheat like him, and Mirika explains that it's because he saved her from her dad, which she finds really hot. Naoya tells her that even the weakest dude could have saved her from her old man, but Mirika argues that he is wrong. She then reveals that, besides saving her from her dad, he was also willing to pay her 1,000,000 yen for Saki and Nagisa. Still, Naoya continues to insist that it isn't enough reason for her to want to be a side chick to the side chick. Fed up with the argument, Mirika suddenly kisses him out of nowhere, causing Naoya to spill a little from his batter reservoir. Seeing this, Saki and Nagisa freak out as they watch their man get violated. After the intense moment, Mirika tells Naoya that she wouldn't stoop so low as to be his third plaything, and if he really wants her, then he would have to dump those 2 bozos and choose just her. That said, she jumps out the window like Spider-Man and then runs off, but unknown to everyone. One of Saki's friends overhears the entire conversation. Later that evening, the mood is somber as Naoya and his wives sit on the field, looking like they just buried someone. Saki and Nagisa are still caught up with the fact that Mirika got to be the first person to kiss their boyfriend, while they haven't even gotten a kiss yet. Saki personally is more sad than furious as the main chick and feels she doesn't deserve to be treated this way. She wonders if it's because she is cursed with a berry plot instead of watermelons, while Nagisa, on the other hand, is filled with regret that she didn't take the chance to kiss Naoya when she had it. After listening to the girls complain their heads off, Naoya asks if they still want to kiss, since he still has saliva to share, but this earns him an elbow to the head from Saki. She tells him he's just trying to do damage control, while Nagisa says kissing him now would only be to make up for what happened. Saki then explains to the dummy that kissing without the right mood is as worthless as trying to sweep sand off a beach. Nagisa agrees, and Saki also adds that they need to have a memorable kiss, one that will compete with the standard of kiss Mirika has already set. She then pushes him to the ground, asking him to man up and ravage her lips like a real alpha would. Nagisa also says she wants her first kiss to happen only when he really wants her. With everything the girls have said, Naoya goes on his knees and smashes his head on the ground to apologize for not considering their feelings. But the girls are creeped out when they see that the fool is bleeding, so they yell at him to get up. After cleaning up the blood on his face, Naoya assures Saki and Nagisa that he cherishes them, and what he wants most is to get closer to them. So to do that, he tells them he loves them and then asks that they all go on a date as a threesome couple, which the girls agree. When Naoya asks if there is anything they would like to do in particular, Saki suggests they go on a date at a hot spring, and everyone agrees. The following day after school, Naoya and the girls go shopping to buy things they will need for the vacation. However, while they are at the mall, Mirika spies on them and is curious to know what they are up to. While browsing items on the shelf, Nagisa is lost in thought, reflecting on how she plans to use the trip to get closer to Naoya. She realizes that, given how Mirika is coming on strong, her position as the side chick is threatened, so she decides that on this trip, she must also give Naoya a taste of her juicy lips. Just then, she spots bubblegum for fresh breath to make the kiss memorable, but as she reaches for it, Saki also shows up to grab a pack. Both girls freeze, realizing they're planning the same strategy, but Saki is the first to break down, admitting she had intended to kiss Naoya first. Seeing how desperate Saki is, Nagisa ditches her own plan and tells her to go ahead and kiss Naoya first. Saki tries to refuse the offer, but Nagisa insists and then vows to support her during the trip since she is the boss chick. Next, they visit the clothing section, where Nagisa gets ugly plain clothes so she can look unappealing to Naoya. However, for Saki, she advises her to dress like Tyla so she can drive Naoya mad, and fate confirms this when Naoya suddenly shows up and almost loses his mind just seeing Saki. When they are done shopping, they head home to prepare for the trip, but Naoya is bugged out, feeling that they are being watched. Meanwhile, Nagisa reassures Saki that she has her back on the trip and is supporting her all the way to get cracked. Saki then asks if she is really sure about backing her up, and Nagisa says she is, so Saki thanks her for being the goat of assistant girlfriends. At the same time, Mirika overhears them talking about the hot spring vacation, so she decides to give them a surprise guest appearance. Later that night, while packing her suitcase, Saki gets a call from Shino, her best friend, who calls to confirm about the trip. Once Saki confirms that the trip is still on, Shino drops the call and is determined to find out if Naoya is two-timing her friend. The following morning, Naoya sees the girls looking cuter than pie and ready for the trip, and he can't believe that a Rizzless goat like himself managed to bag such dolls. On the train, he is super hyped, and once again he apologizes to the girls for kissing Mirika so as not to spoil the mood. He also promises to make good use of the trip to get closer to them in every way, but the way he shouts it embarrasses the girls, so they tell him to take a chill pill. Saki also warns him that for this trip she plans on getting ahead of Mirika, and the last person she wants to see with them is the blonde witch. A few hours later, they arrive at their stop, and to carry out his first item on his bucket list, Naoya holds the girls' hands. This makes everyone stare at them, wondering who this Johnny Sins is, and this makes Saki and Nagisa blush in embarrassment. But Naoya doesn't care, as he explains to the girls that physical touch is an important form of communication. Even on the next train, Naoya refuses to let go of their hands as the passengers continue to stare. When they get to their final destination, Naoya still aura farms while holding the hands of his two gorgeous babes. As they get close to the resort where they will be staying, they see a man flirting with a girl and promising her multiple backshots, which creeps Naoya out. This makes Naoya suddenly remember Saki telling him on the train that she is ready to do anything, so he asks if she wants them to do like the naughty couple, but she immediately denies it, saying she just wants a kiss. But Naoya then asks what they will do next if she kisses him, and his weapon gets charged. Hearing this, Saki goes silent as she realizes that she didn't think things that far. When they finally get to the resort, Mirika suddenly pops out and starts getting all flirty with Naoya. Before Saki and Nagisa can react, Shino also suddenly shows up to confirm if her suspicions of Naoya being the girl's daddy is true. Realizing the truth is about to pop out like popcorn, Nagisa quickly grabs Mirika and claims they came on their own, while Naoya and Saki came as a couple. Shocked to hear this, Mirika tries to snitch, but Nagisa shows her her spicy thumbnail still on her phone and threatens to spill the tea of her identity if she doesn't cooperate. Not wanting that, Mirika immediately agrees that they came together, and then they dash inside to prevent further questioning. Naoya and Saki also follow behind, leaving Shino to converse with her shadow. Upon entering the room, Saki realizes that Nagisa didn't follow them, and just then, Naoya gets a message from Nagisa encouraging him and Saki to have a swell time while she sticks with Mirika to prevent Shino from finding out their secret. However, Naoya isn't cool with the arrangement, so while Nagisa and Mirika are enjoying a very plotful shower, he shows up and asks Nagisa to come with him. Caught off guard by his presence, Nagisa tries to tell him that her features are exposed, but the foolish blind bat doesn't notice and just continues to insist she comes with him. He tells her that he can't just leave her and wants to be with her also, but Nagisa just wants him to leave at that moment. She then remembers that she made a promise to Saki back at the mall to help her get cracked, so to keep this promise, Nagisa pushes Naoya away, runs inside, and then shuts the door. While Naoya is at the door begging her to open, he suddenly gets dragged into the bath by Mirika, who shows him her illuminating globes and then threatens to tempt him until his balls suffer dehydration. Panicking, Naoya asks if she plans on suffocating him with her melons, but Mirika gets embarrassed by the question and explains that she only wanted to show him her great divide. When Naoya brings up the kiss from earlier, Mirika excitedly asks if he liked it, but Naoya tells her it was just average, and hearing this makes Mirika depressed. As Naoya is about to go after Nagisa, Mirika grabs him by the shoulder and insists they talk. She says she just wants him to know all about her and then promises not to tempt him with her fat milkers. Naoya refuses, saying he is more worried about finding Nagisa, but Mirika grabs his shirt and begs him to just spare a little of his time. With that, Naoya agrees but says he can only afford 5 minutes. Mirika accepts the condition, and after she sets a timer for 5 minutes, she presses him with her soaked stepmommy yums and then asks that they start off with introductions. After she introduces herself, Naoya also introduces himself. She then asks about his favorite food, and when Naoya says he likes big bananas, Mirika laughs and says she doesn't like to eat them but likes to take them in, mostly the long ones. When she then asks about his dreams and aspirations, Naoya admits that his only dream is to have a harem full of hot celebrities, and Mirika is impressed to hear this. After that, she asks what he does for fun aside from massaging his sausage, and Naoya tells her that he likes to binge her steamy videos on OnlyFans. Mirika is shocked to hear this, and for a moment, the world revolves around her as she glows with a hard blush on her face. After a long, boring session of questions and answers, the 5-minute time elapses, and just when Naoya is about to leave, Mirika's towel comes undone, revealing God's perfect work. As she stands frozen in embarrassment, Naoya quickly scales the fence before he gets stiff in more ways than one. While running on rooftops like an Assassin's Creed ripoff, Naoya suddenly crashes into Shino's bath and gets to see her curvaceous figure. Shino freezes the instant she sees him and accuses him of trying to smash his girlfriend's bestie. Naoya tries to explain that she is too flat for him, but Shino thinks too highly of herself and immediately goes to cover up her towel properly. Meanwhile, inside the resort, Saki sees Nagisa, and together they decide to go search for Naoya before Shino finds him first. Back at the bath, Shino wants to know if Naoya is two-timing her friend, but Naoya quickly turns the question around and asks what business it is of hers anyway. Shino explains that Saki is her friend, so it's her business to know if she is being played by a useless boyfriend. Even at that, Naoya argues that it's a matter of personal choice, but Shino objects, insisting that in this case she needs to protect Saki because she isn't the sharpest tool in the box when it comes to guys. Pushing Naoya against the wall, she tells him that under the law, it's a crime for a man to practice polygamy. Also, if he continues and gets caught, he will face tax disadvantages and be deprived of receiving insurance payments. Realizing that the nosy girl actually makes sense, Naoya decides his best option will be to fly over the fence. But Shino grabs him by the pants and insists he reveal the truth about the kind of relationship he has with her friend. Naoya says no, he would rather face the punishment, but Shino refuses to let him go until her towel starts to let her go. After much struggle, Naoya is impressed that Shino is actually a good friend who cares about Saki, but since his pants is on the line, he continues trying to scale over the fence. Suddenly, his hand and pants give up, so he and Shino find themselves in a position that is too freaky for the viewers. Just then, by some strange cosmic twist, Saki and Nagisa suddenly show up to find their boyfriend in a clapping position, and then freak out. Without waiting for an explanation, Saki immediately accuses Shino of plugging her power bank into her boyfriend's socket, but Shino frantically explains that looks can be deceiving. Still, Saki breaks down in tears, lamenting that her best friend got to enjoy her poppy before she did. Meanwhile, Nagisa snaps a picture of the steamy scene and threatens to post it online if Shino continues investigating their relationship. Scared that the world might see how flat she is, Shino immediately runs away in shame. Just then, Saki notices that Naoya's boxer is still on, which means nothing freaky happened. With the commotion finally settled, Nagisa says she will be heading back to meet Mirika in the room, but Naoya and Saki ask her to stay with them. Still, she insists that she doesn't want to complicate things between them, and that's when Saki realizes that Nagisa is being stubborn about staying with them because she made a promise to her back at the mall. Nagisa then explains that staying away for now will actually favor her. She reveals that since she was the one who actually came between them in the first place, she doesn't want to do anything that will offend Saki and then make her quit the relationship. She says it's in her own interest if the relationship keeps flourishing, and that's why she needs to give them time alone. Naoya then tries to convince her that her thinking is trash, but suddenly two chicks enter the bath to see Naoya with his pants down, so Saki nervously punches him over the fence. As the terrified girls leave in shock, Saki asks Nagisa why she is willing to go this far just to make her happy, so Nagisa decides to open up about her life story. She says she had always screwed things up in her life, and while she was in junior school, she was so dumb she couldn't even get 10% in her tests. So to get an average grade, she had to study more than anyone else and barely even made it. Since everything she does takes more effort than most people, she decides to accept her tragic life and just try to put in more effort. However, during the summer entrance exam, she met Naoya, and it was more like love at first sight. On that fateful day, Naoya was asking Saki out on a date, but Nagisa immediately gets attracted to his infinite aura. She stood there silently watching him try to desperately convince Saki to go out with him. However, what amazes Nagisa the most is that no matter how many times Saki hits the desperate simp or turns him down, he always comes back stronger. That was when she learns from Saki's friends, who are also watching the madness going on, that Naoya has been confessing to Saki ever since they were rugrats. This revelation hits Nagisa hard since she had never seen someone as resilient as Naoya in her life. So even after the exam, she continues to monitor Naoya and Saki closely to try and figure out what breed of obsessed, determined freak Naoya is. On her way home, she couldn't get Naoya off her mind, and the only desire she wanted at that moment was an opportunity to talk with him. Over the following weeks, Nagisa finally gets admitted into the academy, which excites her as she now has an opportunity to meet Naoya in person. She also learns that Saki and Naoya got admitted into the academy, and even though deep down she figures that they must be dating, Nagisa doesn't care. She decides that once school opens, she will confess to Naoya, but before then she sharpens her cooking skills and never misses a day to exercise. She even changes her appearance and goes from nerdy to super hot just to tick all the boxes that will give her an advantage toward the confession. Presently, Nagisa confesses that she is who she is now because of Naoya, and her greatest wish is to continue being in a relationship with him. Unbeknownst to them, while they talk, Naoya overhears everything from the other side of the fence. Later, after their bath, Nagisa begs Saki not to tell Naoya what they discussed, because it would be embarrassing for her if he found out. But just then, Naoya shows up and promises to never leave her after all the sacrifice she made for him. Hearing this makes Nagisa realize that Naoya heard all her secrets, so she immediately runs off in embarrassment, but Naoya chases after her while Saki also chases after both of them. As they sprint, Naoya tries to convince Nagisa not to hold back her feelings because of anyone, but Nagisa refuses and blazes off. Meanwhile, Mirika is busy searching for Naoya, so she can show him how jiggly her milk jug is when she suddenly bumps into Shino. Shino demands to know what her relationship is with Naoya, and before Mirika can respond, Nagisa, Naoya, and Saki sprint past them, so they also join in the race without knowing why. They all race through the streets like brain-damaged athletes, and all the while, Naoya is busy trying to convince Nagisa that he loves her and doesn't want her to look down on herself. After running for hours, Saki, Mirika, and Shino quit the race, leaving Naoya and Nagisa to continue. When Naoya eventually trips, Nagisa stops, thinking he has given up, but he gets back on his feet and continues chasing her. While in motion, he encourages her to stop feeling like a second fiddle in the relationship, but to give herself the chance to experience love firsthand. Still, Nagisa refuses to listen, and as she climbs down a bridge, she figures she must have outrun Naoya now. However, to her greatest shock, she sees Naoya running up the bridge to catch up with her, and in the next moment, the guy is jumping off the bridge like Batman to close the distance. Nagisa then tries to run off again, but this time, Naoya quickly grabs her hand and assures her that he will never leave her. Nagisa reminds him that if Saki gets upset with their chemistry, she might dump him and the entire relationship will go south, but Naoya tells her he won't let it happen. He promises that even if it takes him begging Saki every day, he would do it just to keep them together. All of a sudden, he hugs her passionately and says he will never leave her no matter what. Just then, Saki and the rest arrive in a cab to meet them, and Shino immediately demands an explanation for the craziness going on. Unable to hide the secret anymore, Nagisa apologizes to Saki and then kisses Naoya. Everyone freezes in shock, but she tells them that she is also Naoya's girlfriend. When Saki asks Nagisa if this is how she wants to roll, Nagisa boldly says yes, so Saki tells her to bring it on. Saki then finally confesses to Shino that she is in a two-timing relationship, and before Shino can ask further questions, the girls run off with Naoya. Several weeks later, Naoya and the girls return from the trip, and this time their lives change as they no longer have to hide their relationship from their friends. Nagisa is now more free to express her feelings to Naoya and doesn't have to be scared of how Saki will feel. Saki, on the other hand, isn't letting her have all the fun and is also learning to share Naoya with her. However, some things remain the same, as they still have to spend lunch hours in the gym storage room with Mirika, who isn't giving up on her love for Naoya either. Comment King of Babes if you watch this recap to the end, and if you enjoy anime recaps like this, subscribe to the channel and watch this next video.